Deltarune. That is a great game. There's just something about Toy Fox's game design philosophy and writing that is so captivating. I can't help but constantly think about them for years and years. And I know very well that I'm not alone in this. The Deltarune community, as infamous as it can be, has always shined when it comes to discussing our favorite game together. I've spent countless hours reading and listening to many theories the fandom has come up with, and there's a lot of them out there. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot.
I'm a skeleton man, got jokes galore. Whoopee cushion in my hand. If you make demands, you'll be met with a can of Papyrus's spaghetti brochure.
Okay, in all seriousness, despite its funny name, the theory is a very genuine theory, and I believe it should be treated and discussed with as much respect as you'd give to any other examination of the game. It's also aged surprisingly well after the release of the new chapters, which is not something you can say about a lot of theories. So in this video, I want to take a new look at it from the perspective that the new chapters offer it, and from there, we'll use the piece and shit theory as a stepping stone to discuss other more popular mysteries in the game, such as the Skeleton Brothers or the existence of magic in the Dark World. With all that said, let's dive into theory. Before anything, I'm just gonna briefly explain the original theory in case you don't know it or just want a refresher. If you're already familiar with it, you can just skip this chapter. The Deltarune theory was first posted on twitter.com by @1ddoodles, or just Alex, on February 2023. The original tweet didn't actually call it the theory. This term was coined later by the community, because, I mean, of course it would, why wouldn't we? The goal of this theory is basically to serve as evidence for the larger sans comes from Deltarune theory. The gist of everything is that in Undertale, there were no toilets in the underground, even though there's bathrooms and showers and stuff. This is because the game makes a special distinction between monster food and human food. Well, human food is, well, I'm assuming you know what human food is. Monster food is made of magic, and upon eating it, it converts into energy instantly. This gives an in-game explanation of why eating food in the middle of battle restores your HP. You know, just one of many video game logic subversion thingies Toby Fox does. Meanwhile, in Deltarune, toilets are a common thing. The Dreamer residence has one, they show up in the library Dark World. Overall, everyone should know what these funky little things are. However, toilets aren't actually 100% absent from Undertale. Only 2 characters seem to make reference to them. The first, and honestly kinda questionable as evidence, is the main man Sans, who uses toilet paper as tickets during the Siren fight. This happens in Waterfall, so he could have just gotten them from the dump where human stuff falls to the underground. It doesn't really prove much. The other one, though, is a little more interesting. It's Papyrus, who straight up mentions a toilet. He then says he doesn't actually know what a toilet is, which is an important detail that I'll go over later in the video. What matters is that only the Skeleton Brothers seem to know what toilets are, and the theory concludes this is evidence that Sans is originally from Deltarune, and not from Undertale. After the release of chapters 3 and 4, a lot of the most popular theories among the fandom were disproven. However, theories built different, and instead became more robust after the new content. I'd say there's 3 new main factors that help validate the theory even further. The first is pretty straightforward. In chapter 4, we visit Noelle's house and they, a monster family, have a toilet too. You can't really see it during the normal route, but it's clearly visible during the weird route, during Kris's crash out. Also exclusive to the weird route is this second piece of evidence which I haven't seen anyone really talk about. Right after leaving the holiday manor, Asgore will give Kris a hot chocolate he prepared because he noticed they weren't doing all too well. Because of the beating we took, Kris's HP at this moment is just 10 out of 20, and as far as I know, this is the only time in the light world where your HP is not maxed out and you can eat or drink something. So what happens when Kris drinks it? Nothing. They find it delicious, but their HP stays the same. Light world food is after all the same as the one described as disgusting by monsters in Undertale, aka human food. This is some good ass chocolate too, like Ned Flanders level chocolate. This should be a tremendous healing item, but it isn't. Speaking of, short tangent I know, but why does the hot chocolate not turn into anything in the Dark World? I mean, the freaking chalk becomes a healing item, but not the hot chocolate? Unplayable, 0 out of 10, kill Tony. As for the last piece of evidence, it's a little different. It's like some kind of reverse engineering. The goal of the original theory was to prove Sans comes from Deltarune, and well, now we know he most definitely does. I won't go into detail on why this is the case, there are already many great videos out there about it, but basically by proving the conclusion of the theory correct, the theory itself becomes much more robust. But we're talking about Sans a lot. Aren't we forgetting someone?
noodles in the pan. My name is Papyrus, coming in like a virus. Who's the man?
Whenever the community talks about Sans being from Deltarune, I notice that a certain character tends to be left out from the discussion. And, well, I can't blame them. It makes sense why we'd avoid talking about Papyrus, given how we're 4 chapters in and still haven't seen him once. We don't really know anything about him yet. His name is not even mentioned in game once, with Sans referring to him only as his brother. If it weren't for the Steam description and this one very suspicious audio file, we'd have no evidence of Papyrus being in the game whatsoever. But still, I believe he's worth being talked about, and yes, it will be with the help of theory. As the original theory states, only 2 characters in Undertale know about toilets, Sans and Papyrus. The weird thing about Papyrus, though, is that, despite being familiar with the term, he doesn't actually know what a toilet is. Why would Papyrus not know what a toilet is? I would argue this could be a clue that implies that, while Sans comes from Deltarune, Papyrus' situation might be a little different. Now, I know it's a bit of a far-fetched conclusion to reach just based on Papyrus' potty knowledge, but just like the original theory, this is just one argument of many. A much more convincing one has to be during Undertale's true pacifist fight against Asriel, when you're saving all your friends. Notice the difference between Papyrus' and Sans' dialogue. These are the characters stripped at their bare minimum, showing you their biggest frustrations, their insecurities, their fears, their regrets. I mean, just look at Sans.
You'll never see him again. Just give up. I did.
He's clearly reminiscing about a long-gone past here. He even drops the comic sans fun in exchange of the standard one. And yet, Papyrus is just saying Papyrus stuff. It's like he doesn't have the same knowledge as his brother. His whole attitude in general just doesn't seem right for someone who theoretically got plunged into another dimension with no way of return. His outgoing personality doesn't even seem to match that of his Deltarune counterpart, where he doesn't seem to go out of the house at all. You'd think he'd at least be a little more understanding of Sans' apathy towards everything after what they've been through, but he just sees him as a lazybones, like everyone else. So, does that mean only Sans comes from Deltarune? Well, no, I don't think so. In one of her dialogue options, the Snowdin shopkeeper mentions the following. And if you're bored, you can sit outside and watch those wacky skeletons do their thing. There's 2 of them, brothers, I think. They just showed up one day and asserted themselves. The town has gotten a lot more interesting since then. So, what then? At first I was thinking something like, both Sans and Papyrus already existed in Undertale, but somehow Deltarune Sans' conscience was implanted in Undertale Sans' and replaced him. But then I stopped being stupid and realized memory loss makes more sense. I believe that when both brothers came from Deltarune, something had to happen only to Papyrus that made him forget his previous life. The previous people he might have known, even, maybe, his previous personality. While both brothers come from a different world, only one of them is aware of it. And then at some point, Papyrus heard the word toilet from Sans. Also, in the original Piss and Shit theory post, this little tweet from Toby is attached, which I think is worth mentioning. You've all seen the happiest outcome. Neither of them could fix the machine, no matter how hard they tried. No one can. This seems to imply that both Sans and Papyrus tried fixing this machine to go back to Deltarune, but that wouldn't make sense if Papyrus didn't know he wasn't from this world. However, if you think about it, both doesn't actually have to be Sans and Papyrus. Could be, for example, Sans and Alphys, which I actually think would make much more sense. Well, that's enough Papyrus for now. Back to Okay, so this question might actually not matter too much. Whether monsters turn out doesn't really affect the outcome of the Sans and Papyrus theory. But damn it, this is the theory video, and we Deltarune fans can't leave any mystery unsolved. There's gotta be someone out there who needs to know if Carol can show up. You might be thinking, didn't you just say there was a toilet at the holiday residence? And yes, there is. However, the holidays are rich, and Kris was a usual and esteemed guest at their house. It wouldn't be that weird for the family to have installed a toilet just for them. Alternatively, the theory that Des might actually be a human has picked up in popularity after the release of the new chapters. I'm not a big fan of the theory, but hey, here's some evidence for it. Congratulations, Human Des fans. All you gotta do is subscribe to the agenda. This really wouldn't be that much of a mystery if we could just see a third toilet in town, but unfortunately, outside the Dark World, there don't seem to be any. And I don't mean to imply they literally don't exist, it's just that you can't see them in-game for, well, game design reasons. You can just add a bathroom to every building in the game that's completely unnecessary. But that doesn't mean they're not there. I mean, Ness's house in Earthbound doesn't have a bathroom either, does that mean he doesn't... Actually, let's not go there. Something else that Chapter 4 showed us is that monster anatomy in Deltarune is the same, or at least very similar, to how it worked in Undertale, with monsters turning to dust and all. So that would mean the way they interact with food would be the same too, right? Well, yeah, probably, but I don't think that's relevant. You see, I don't think the difference lies between how humans and monsters digest food, but instead it lies in the food itself. I mean, in Undertale, Frisk also recovers instantly from monster food. Meanwhile, back in Deltarune, the hot chocolate doesn't restore any HP. However, in the Dark World, which operates pretty similarly to Undertale, food does seem to have the same magic properties. So yeah, I do believe both monsters and humans in the Light World eat regular food, and thus have to... Because, well, magic doesn't exist in the Light World after all. Or does it? Magic is a very common thing in Undertale. Both monsters and humans can use it. Although it seems that while most monsters can use it freely, it's not something that comes naturally to humans, and they either need an external tool, or maybe just few humans can use magic. In Deltarune, Dark Worlds seem to follow those same rules. Monsters, Darkners, it seems everyone here can use magic, except for Kris, the human. The food, too, acts like monster food in Undertale. But what about the Light World? Well, there's no magic there, is there? I mean, there's plenty of hints that humans and monsters don't use magic. Still, let's not completely dismiss the idea just yet. There's some stuff I've seen people argue as evidence magic might exist in the Light World, and I'd like to go over them real quick. First, it's these two books that mention magic, one in the library and one from Kris's search history room. The first is about magic tricks, and it mentions that most of them require orbs or floating hands to do. Emphasis on the tricks part. Yeah, I don't think these talk about actual magic, just some party tricks that look like magic. The orbs and hands part might raise some eyebrows, but I think that's just the Deltarune equivalent of like a stage magician needing a top hat to pull a rabbit out of, or a magic wand or something. Then there's... I'll be honest, I have no idea what jungling means. The Chapter 4 minigame certainly doesn't help, because... What is this? Still, Kris's internet search is a little weird, isn't it? They searched how to use magic, and not something like, can you use magic or is magic real? Does this confirm anything? Actually no, it probably doesn't. That's actually like perfectly normal way to Google something, yeah, this point goes nowhere. There's also this line from Noelle in Chapter 2. I wish I knew healing magic in real life. Then I'd make you better and it wouldn't just be me and mom. Wait, why am I showcasing this line? Isn't this more proof that magic doesn't exist in the Light World? Well, I've heard some people argue that the wording here could be vague in purpose. Noelle says, I wish I knew healing magic in real life, instead of something like, I wish healing magic was real, leading some to believe that healing magic is indeed something that exists in real life. It's just that Noelle herself can't use it, well, in the Light World. The thing is, there's a very crucial detail that dismisses this train of thought entirely. Why would Rudy still be in the hospital if healing magic existed? Healing magic was real, wouldn't it be used to heal hospital patients? Even if it's something extremely rare and expensive, the holidays have the money, and would surely spare no expense to bring Rudy back to top health. So no, I don't think healing magic exists in the Light World. In fact, I think Rudy's illness proves that magic shouldn't exist at all in the Light World. However, there's other stuff. Other evidence that, unlike the one I went over right now, is a little harder to dismiss. There's weird things happening in this town. Seems like Sans can just teleport now, I guess. Catti and Kris practice the occult together, and even though you could dismiss it just as teenagers messing around and being edgy, maybe, just maybe, their demon summoning was actually successful. There's a floating heart that can just take over the actions of a person and control them. There's a pointed tail that lures lost children somewhere. And, most of all, there's a thorn. A thorn that can seemingly subdue someone into a magic deep trance. And all of this is in the Light World. So, does magic exist then? I think there's only 3 conclusions we can reach here. First, magic doesn't exist in the Light World. All those fantastical things I just described, they can all be explained, somehow. Toby never thought about that, it's some gaslighting. You might be able to tell that I'm not the biggest fan of this explanation. The second conclusion is that magic is real, but an extremely rare thing that takes a lot of skill and talent to master, or that very few Lightners can actually use. Again, I don't think this is the case, or else, no matter how rare magic actually is, Rudy wouldn't be stuck in a hospital bed. So, that leaves the last option, and the one I personally believe. Magic shouldn't exist in the Light World, but for some reason, there's something causing this magic to leak. The Thorn Ring, it originates from the Dark World, and yet it comes to the Light World and conserves its transient capacities. The soul, us, we were just talking with Gaster who knows where, probably the depths, when suddenly we were plunged into Kris's body, into the Light World. Something is causing these things that shouldn't exist to present in the Light World. Are Dark Worlds leaking, somehow? Does the growing imbalance of light and dark have something to do with this? Well, before I conclude this video, there's one last thing worth mentioning. All throughout this section, I've been constantly saying that Lightners can use magic, but that's not entirely the truth. There is one supernatural thing that almost every Lightner can do. Create a dark fountain. And that's the end of the video. I'm not very good at ending videos. I guess like and subscribe.
It's a mushroom. It's gonna give me the boo boo.
我的专业是环境科学。如果我是个云，霜上加雪。我从来没有穿过裤子，我没有朋友，我只有兔子。我可以心连心同住地球村。我可以心连心同住地球村。